All good? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
This is our first time, I think, talking ever. I obviously know of you. I don't even know if it's from, I think, NorCal Melee or some various form of West Coast thing. Or I've,
Yeah, mostly SoCal. Like,
yeah, SoCal, okay.
I'm, I'm just like affiliated with like mostly Nut and Gooms. Like
Hmm.
right now, I'm like Gooms is like right hand controller boy,
Yeah, that makes, that makes
and
sense.
sometimes I hang with Logan and whoever like is
Hmm.
around. But yeah,
Cool.
let me
Um,
see.
I've already started recording and stuff, so I guess if you
Sweet.
want to kind of talk about your melee experiences and stuff, and kind of maybe your goals and et cetera, then we could kind of talk more about or more in depth about stuff. Cool.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Treecko. I've been playing since around 2014, 15, around that time. Like basically when like Smash 4 came out and shit.
Yeah.
Um, I was like super like introduction low level dot kid around that time, and just like trying to learn here and there, taking breaks like on and off. I've never like really struck into like the mid level. I've always felt like I've plateaued at like the high low level or
Hmm.
like level mid, something around that. But I've always loved learning new stuff about the game, even like post like Slippy era, like learning new stuff with like slide offs or like new defensive mechanics. But like that's still like stuff that I need to like practice, rehearse, like keep in mind when I'm playing. And I feel like everyone in this like new generation of like Slippy and after COVID is like
Yeah.
another next step to like learn.
Hmm.
And but at the same time, it's like with all the breaks I take, I feel like there's stuff I need to like brush up. There's like punish game that I need to like get back into, and like you know I got to compete with the rest. And so SoCal has so much like new bread and up and comers that it's so hard to contest with like other people, but it's still like very doable because there's so much resources, there's so much help around. Like I hang out with like Gooms and like not like every so like often, so it's like it's good practice, but I just need to like make use of it, you know.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, I guess with these lessons, then that kind of seems like your goal is to like get yourself into the process of kind of like picking up more stuff and kind of like refining slash learning things and like overall strengthening your foundational play. I assume, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
like I wouldn't mind being like SoCal PR.
Mm.
I do have plans of like moving like to New York with my girlfriend around like the next year or like down the line, but I'd love to at least like hit that before, but it's gonna take like a lot of work to do.
Yeah, yeah. But it is possible with hard work and dedication, so you could try and get you there, or at least as close as possible. And I mean, you could always, if you are in the scene still in New York and stuff, you could always,
Yeah.
shoot for New York PR. So
New York PR is tight too.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. I guess we can just get into watching if you're down. I don't really have much else
Sweet.
to say.
Right. So
Nice.
I have sent some bot. I sent only two. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think these should be fine. These were legit just sets like last night that I played with Michael with Nut.
Hmm.
And those I just I'd love to like get more into like the basics of like Fox Chic in terms of like well it's like I do have somewhat of a game plan with her, like getting her past 40% best I could do.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I do want to find more things to threaten Sheik, especially when she's on a platform, as well as like finding DI mix-ups when I do get a hit on her, because I feel like sometimes getting a hit on like mid to high level Sheiks is like so hard.
Yeah, I agree. Hitting Sheik is really difficult. That's like her strong suit in the matchup is that she's good at like keeping Fox off her, in the spots that she like tries to do it.
Mhm.
So that makes sense. Um, yeah, we
And
could talk about that kind of
yeah,
stuff and um, yeah. You want to just get into it?
um, Oh, there's one more thing. I do
Yeah.
want to like also find ways I could dash around Sheik without getting like forward tilted, up tilted,
Hmm.
or like also while respecting her like dashing grab, dash attack like range.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to keep in mind too. But
Um,
yeah, we could get into it after that.
I do actually have one thought for that, and it's that with Chic like forward tilt, up tilt stuff versus her boost grab, dash tech stuff, the way that the like dichotomy is like if you're perfectly outside of the range of like forward tilt, up tilt, and you like want to threaten or like punish them, that means that you're always going to be in range to get hit by dash tech and boost grab.
Right.
And then if you want to be outside of the range to not get hit by dash attack and boost grab, then that means that you can't punish forward tilt or up tilt. Does that
I
make
see.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to pick which one you like really want and like which risk you're okay with taking. Okay, let's get into it. I since I've never seen you play, this is our first lesson. I'm gonna probably watch a few stocks of this match, maybe the game, and then just kind of like see and like gather my thoughts and see what where we go with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you have things you want to point out, you can always point them out. But I'm probably gonna end up being relatively silent.
No problem.
Wow, what the heck? How'd that
I
send
know,
that
right?
direction? That's insane. Uh, okay, I think I've seen enough. I'm gonna go back to the beginning and then we can start talking.
Right.
Okay, well, since you're watching, do you have any thoughts of the things that happened while we were watching? Do you think you saw things that like happened over and over, or things that you felt like went wrong, or do you have any thoughts on that?
There are a few times where I do let Sheik back into the ledge kind of for free,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like I feel like I'm not properly in a position to grab ledge, or I miss out before I even like realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I agree.
aside from yeah, aside from that, I also feel like my move choice around it's because like like I want to stay centered, but at the same time I want to pressure Sheik because sometimes Michael would just like throw needles from the top platform or not the top platform, from the side platform and hit me there, and I need to pressure him somehow,
Yeah.
but I can't be dashing like in the center. And if I take his bait and go towards the platform, I'm just losing center that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of like a good way to like counteract that.
Yeah, I agree that did happen. You have any other thoughts?
Uh, for now, no.
Okay. I guess just to cover the needle situation, um, Fox has a really good tool to like kind of coax people into moving forward, and that's laser, right? And
Right.
so what you could do is in spots like that where you feel like the Sheik's kind of like setting up needle stuff, you could start using laser a bit more and try and get Sheik to come in and take space. And sometimes you might like not have center stage, but like I think at the end of the day, having like an actual like changing the game state is what matters, right? Progressing the game is kind of what we want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a few thoughts while watching. I think that when you were playing neutral against Sheik, there were a lot of times where I felt like, well, you knew where like the Sheik was. It didn't feel like you were trying to like approach her in the most specific way possible, and so you would like try and it's like you'd see her like jump on the side platform, and then you'd wait a little while, and then you'd be like, man, I want to hit the Sheik, and then you'd kind of just like throw something out to hit her. And I think that like, well, there is a mix up with like trying to hit her. It didn't feel like you were super specific with how you did it, right? And so it happened a lot of the time is like he'd like needle you out of the air, and then you'd just get caught, or like you'd try and like do a full hop nair, and then it get shielded or something, right? And I think things like that happen a decent amount, and I think that we could talk about like more specific move choice, and also like paying attention to like the game state, and like making the most relevant possible decision you can. um have you seen? I'm going to ask this now because I'm going to go into a concept that I've talked about before. But have you seen like any of my other lessons or?
I've seen yours with Sahib on Fox Samus,
Mhm.
and there was the other Fox Sheik video that you did, but hmm, that one's like one of your older ones.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and aside from that, there's also Ethan's with the Fox Ditto,
yeah, with the
and
Ditto.
yeah, I think it's only those for now.
Okay. I want to ask: have you heard of a concept called reaction points?
Correction points? No.
Yeah. Okay. So reaction points essentially are to, I guess, to preface it is within melee, it is assumed that 15 frames is like the reasonable reaction time, right?
Right.
And so, given that, there's a lot of actions in melee that put you in lag and have you in lag for long enough to where 15 frames passes. Um, and so, what I like to introduce to people is that in these 15 frame or plus intervals, you could use that time to like look at your opponent and try and make the most relevant decision you can when you come out of lag. Does that make sense conceptually?
Yes.
Yeah, and so pretty much we'd have this thing where it's like, okay, a good example of it is like wave dashing. Fox wave dash is around 13 frames. And so it's like when you decide that you want to wave dash, you could move your eyes to your opponent and like see what they're doing. And then by the time your wave dash is over, you could do a thing that you think would be the most relevant possible decision.
Right.
And this goes for like any kind of thing. Short hop is a good example. Up tilt's a good example. Full hop's a good example. Up smash, roll, spot dodge, right? There's so many things. And all these things are times when you're in lag and just can't do anything other than wait for the lag to be over, right? And so we want to use that time to like put our eyes on our opponent and make the best decision we can.
So let's say like if Michael approaches me like off the ledge with like a fair or something,
Mhm.
and like I'm in a wave dash like back type of scenario, I could
Yeah.
like react to that and then try to ready the up tilt.
Yeah, it's like if you're say Sheik is like on ledge here and she's double jumping, and when you start your wave dash back from here, you see that she is double jumping. You can be like, oh, Sheik is double jumping. I'm going to make a decision that I think would hit double jump in this position. Maybe it would be shine, maybe it'd be up tilt, right? But like you can see that that's happening and like make that decision explicitly.
Mhm.
Um, And why I say this is that once we go into this match, I think there's times where I feel like you kind of aren't paying attention to the specifics. And a good example is like this drill. You know how I said short hop was a good way, a good reaction point to set up looking for things happening, right? I feel like by the time you land from this drill, you could see that Michael had is in the corner and had been off the stage in some capacity, right? You saw that he had ran off and that he probably had a double dip to get up. And so it's like, oh, at that point you could have been like, oh, I can now be aggressive and decide to do maybe run full hop shine or set up pressure around this spot because Michael had double jumped. Does that make sense?
That's true.
Yeah, right. And so instead,
vulnerable right there.
yeah, right. But instead, you start dash dancing in center stage, and he just got away scot free with doing a thing that could have potentially led to him actually dying, right?
Yeah. Holy crap.
I think, and there'll be a ton of spots for this kind of thing to come up, and we could talk about it more as it happens. See, Nair, you try to read your shield dropping. This Nair, while I understand why you did it, it doesn't I think you did the Nair on reaction to seeing that he had shielded, or not that he had shielded, seeing that he had dropped, and then you were like, okay, he shield dropped, I can now do an attack. But I feel from how far back you were, you couldn't have really actually done anything, right? And you see how your Nair didn't even hit him,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's you're just too far. And since you're too far, you have to change the way you play to match your spacing, right? And so I feel once you ended up in this spot and he was shield dropping, you honestly could have just kept dash dancing in center stage, or you could have lasered, or you could have maybe full hop to go over a dash forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel it was pretty clear to me that you can't attack shield drop on reaction and get there in time, right? And that's a general rule that you can actually apply every time. Does that make sense?
Hello?
Hello? I think I cut out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I said
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Kind of minor gripe, but after the shine, you could do turn around and then short hop to ledge. But all right, you could just get to ledge. I guess that's your goal, because this is what if you get to grab ledge here, you get to start the edge guard cycle against Sheik, right? But since you dash back, you couldn't have gone to ledge in time. Yeah. Staying too close to ledge. That's something that happened a few times actually. I think you might not have a super concrete idea of where you need to be to not get to be safe from Sheik on ledge. Do you how do I go about this? I think, well, I guess I could just say it. If you want to be safe from Sheik getting up, you have to be back here. Can you see my mouse? Around, you have to yeah, you have to actually be in center stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think you were waiting here, but it didn't really seem like you had a thing you wanted to hit, right? I feel if you wanted to be in this range and actually hit Sheik after a ledge dash, you would be doing a Nair right now, or you'd be up smashing right now, right? You would have already done something, but you're dash dancing still. So I feel that's what makes me think you kind of have a misunderstanding with the space you need to be at to be safe from Sheik on ledge. And then we see that you try and do dash back, wave, dash back, and it's you're just way too close to have that work. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you realize the spacing for right after she gets off ledge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This Nair, honestly, just I don't know. It's just not really that good. Because I feel when you did the Nair, it correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of looked like your intention was to hit him jumping, right? because
Yeah.
he jumps out of shield, you get the nair, you get a combo, right? But it's like,
I get the up tilt.
yeah, but it's like he did the thing that you wanted him to do. He jumped, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it didn't hit. And I think when things like that happen, when you have a read that they're gonna do a thing, and then they do the thing, and then it doesn't work, that you have to like take a step back and be like, if I read them and it didn't work, why did that happen, right? And so, what I think is that how I would approach this is like I'd be like, I tried to read jump, but I was too late and my nair didn't hit. That would make me think that okay, well, is reading jump here a good idea? And it's like I think reading jump here is reasonable. Sheik got out of a scramble. Sheiks like to jump a lot of the scrambles. Okay, so reading jump here is reasonable. But if you look at the timing that she actually would be jumping at, it's really early. You're not even dashing towards her, right? And so
Yeah.
maybe that means that like, okay, well, if I want to read Sheik jumping in positions like these, I have to start my jump immediately. Like you would have to like start jumping now and do like full hop rising up air to read her hitting the platform or something, right?
Yeah, I have to super commit to that.
Yeah, right. And you have to go super early. And so it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then I need to change the way that I think of like, reading Sheik jump after shining her in a scramble. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is like the way that I kind of want to like approach most things when we, are trying to get better. Because if you have an idea and it doesn't work, that means that like, and you don't know why it didn't work, we have to sit down and kind of pick through it and be like, well, if it didn't work, why didn't it work and how do we make it work? Is it a thing that can work? And, all these things kind of need to be covered.
I agree.
Yeah. Let's see. We could look at this spot too. And so it's like, okay, well, your nair missed and you tried to run in the center stage, but you just got bared. And it's like, okay, well, is running the center stage a reasonable thing to do? I think that since you kind of just got hit by Sheik doing the bear, it feels like there's nothing that could have happened that would have made running through work, right? Because I think
Right.
it's reasonable to assume that Sheik just hitting you with a bear in this way is the most direct way. And so that makes me think that, okay, well then, given that I think it's pretty unreasonable because of it's not fast enough, then I will have to change the way I like, approach the situation. And so that means that if I don't have time to dash in the center stage, what do I have time to do? And I think, what do you think you have time to do after missing that nair into the corner?
Um, right there, I have to realize that I cornered myself and
Yeah.
find a way to just like ease myself way like back into center. And if not, I could just take the bear with like a crouch cancel and like wave shiner smash if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think CCing here is a good idea. Do you have any other ideas for like what options you could pick after whiffing the nair specifically?
Holding shield.
Holding shield, I agree. I think holding shield's a great idea. You hold
Yeah.
shield, you don't get hit. She casts if she wants to hit you for shielding, she has to like do a drop through grab, right? And that's
Right.
obviously
And that's
like
a super hard commitment.
yeah, right. It's a really big read. If you do any buttons during any of that time, you just hit her, right? And so it's like okay, well, bear. I could shield that. CC, I think CC is good. You could CC. She can then do like CC grab or CC shine. There's one more thing that I think you could do that you haven't said. Or I guess two more things. Let's see.
Um, I mean, yes, up tilt
Yep. Yep.
and I want to say up smash,
Um,
or is there the super
I
secret
guess
one?
there's a secret fifth. Because up smash you technically can do, but I wouldn't personally do up smash because up smash is super risky, right? So like if you don't hit the up smash, Sheik has a ton of time to punish you.
Wait, could I just grab ledge?
Yeah, you just go to ledge, right?
Oh, for real? Okay,
Yep.
let's go.
Yeah, and so we hit everything, right? You could CC, you could shield, you could up tilt, you could technically up smash, and then you could go to ledge. And so it's like,
Sweet.
boom, we hit it all, right? And this is like the process that I kind of want you maybe when we're not doing lessons or watching games on your own, you're playing games on your own to like go through where it's like, okay, what are the things I can do that will make this situation work, right?
Yeah, like I want to use every option possible, but then I feel like sometimes in default I go for like the simple dumb option.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you don't realize that, oh, this thing doesn't actually work, and then you get blown up. But like, if you knew that, maybe you could have shielded, you get like a shine on the shield, and then you get a combo, right? Or if you know that you could up tilt, you up tilt him out of the air, and he's getting comboed, right? And so it's like UCC, he's getting comboed. So it's like, oh my god, if you had good counterplay, Michael did something really bad, and you just get to beat him up, right? And that could have changed the match. Who knows?
Yeah, one meat stock.
Yep. Yeah. And I think you even maybe UCC. I have to look. It was awkward, but you landed really fast, and you could have shined. Honestly,
I just think maybe it was a weak bear.
Yeah, it was like a weak bear, and you like. I think what happened is you got hit with the bear. You just like didn't. Wow, you landed really fast, but yeah, you could have like shined before he did anything too. Can you see that? Yeah, you could have like shined first before he down smashed. Yeah. Let's see. That's fine. I feel like running full screen. Running full screen doesn't like do anything, because the way that I see running shine with Fox is when you're running shine with Fox, what makes it good is that let's say that where's my mouse? That you started your dash right. This is the first time of your dash. It's not, but let's assume it is. Right. If you are doing a running shine is unreactable completely up until like right here. They can't see that you even dashed forward before the shine hits them, right? And so that's the strength of it. The strength of running shine is that you can do it in relatively far ranges completely unreactably. And even in the ranges slightly past this, it's like, oh, technically they could get their shield up. That means that if they can only get their shield up, it's not like they could forward tilt. It's not like they could jab, right? Shield's frame 1. And so it's like, that's the strength of forward tilt, or of running shine, is that you can go really far with it and have it be really, really, really fast. But when you run, all the way over here, right? Think that
just going with a move.
Yeah, right. It literally doubles the spacing. They have so much time to like do something. And you see Michael was able to just completely jump. He was literally able to get all the way through his jump before you like got there, right? And so it's like we kind of want to like base the times that we decide to be aggressive off like the spacings that like our moves are relevant. So it's like, if Sheik was like right here, running shine would be good because it's unreactable, and if she were to beat it, she'd have to do something preemptive, right? We want to like make our opponents do stuff like that. We don't want to like let them react to us, Yeah. And that's why like when people say like don't approach from too far, that's why you don't want to approach from too far. It's because your opponent can see. If your opponent can see you approach, it's not good anymore, right? And that's why like, baits exist, because when you're in this range to bait someone, that means that they can't react. And so they like have to guess, right? That's why wave dash down stuff is super good. You do dash forward, wave dash down. All they can see is that you dashed. They can't tell what you're gonna do, Yeah. Oh. Bit too far. I do like that you dashed all the way in the center stage. Not like playing greedy here after you mess up is super good. Just take center. It's free. This bear's good. I think after you hit the bear though, you're kind of not paying attention. Because like you hit this bear, you should be able to tell that you hit the bear and then decide to do like, shine, up tilt, right? You can like start playing like since you have an advantage. But you kind of dash away and it's like, well, why didn't you just, do bear shine, right? Does that make sense?
Scared of like, I think I was scared of like getting like grabbed from that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I just realized that it's like at all.
Yeah, I think like if you're gonna get CC grabbed, you're getting CC grabbed anyways. Dashing back isn't gonna like fix it, Yeah, so it's like, why not just do the thing that you think is good and would like work, and then if they outplay it, then so be it. You play the next interaction well or whatever.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and the second bear is not that great. Nair here, I don't like Nair here because while I think it can hit Sheik jumping sometimes, we kind of see that like even in the spot where she jumped, Sheik did nair and your nair traded, and it's like if Sheik did like backflip or like wave dash back, your nair misses completely, and so then you kind of like get blown up, right? You're at knockdown percent. Sheik does forward tilt. You get forward tilted out of the air, you're getting comboed for 60,
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to not like just pull the trigger on nairing as fast as possible in spots like this. Because, Sheik shields your nair, you get shield grabbed a lot of the time. Or she jumps into the nair or something, she does like an aerial, you trade, she wave dashes back, you get forward tilted and it whiffs. It's like, okay, well, it seems like nairing doesn't actually do what I want it to do well right here, And so we could pick up, or we could figure out, different things to do. Like, I think a good thing to do after, like, you get this bear and you end up trading spots is to just stand still.
Stand still, okay.
Yep. I think what makes standing still good is that if Sheik were to hit you directly, she'd be making a big commitment, right? You could, if you were to do an aerial, if you were to shield, if you were to full hop, you would, beat her doing dash forward grab or dash attack. So that makes it really risky on her end. So you want to be like, okay, well, Sheik isn't likely to do this thing because it's really risky. Then I want to look for other things. And it's like, okay, the other things that she can do are she can short hop, she can forward tilt in place, and she can shield. And all of those things don't hit you here, right?
Yeah, I'm far away from her.
Yeah, right. You're outside of the range. And so, since you're outside of the range, and the things that would be inside your range are risky, then you kind of can sometimes stand still and check, right? What I like about standing still is you have access to all of your options. You could dash, you could shield, you could jump, you could roll, you could crouch, you could do everything, right? You could do everything, and you're stationary, so your spacing will always be consistent, right? So that's why I like standing still. You have access to everything. Your spacing's consistent, and then you could use that time to look at what your opponent's doing. And so that's kind of going back a little bit to reaction points. It's not necessarily the same as a reaction point because it's not like you're in lag per se, but you are reacting to your opponent and looking at what they're doing to make an educated decision, right?
Right. So if I just stand still right here, and I know like Michael loves to nair out of the field, like that's an easy up smash.
Yeah, right. You see your jump. Yeah, right. You see your jump. It's like up smash time, and you just boom, easy clap, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like you see the Sheik forward tilt. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna run up smash, easy clap, right? So that's what makes running shine good is when in these standing still good is they do these things that defend themselves because this range is unreactable, right? They can't tell that this is the thing that we're talking about with running shine. If you're running shine here, they can't tell that you're running shining before the shine hits them. And so that's why they do things preemptively in this spot. And that's why standing still is good, is if they want to protect themselves, you can just stand still and react and then hit them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of, so far we've hit threat range stuff a lot, but threat ranges are like melee. When you're playing melee, if you're in someone's threat range, that means they can hit you unreactably, and you have to worry about that, right? Mm-hmm. And so, if someone's in your threat range, you can hit them unreactably, and they have to worry about that. And you want to base the way you play around that. It's like you don't want to put yourself in someone's threat range if you don't have something good to do, or it's like you want people to be in your threat range, or else you won't be able to hit them.
I agree.
Yeah, and we just want to look at all these things and change the way that we play to reflect that. Because if you can play well around threat range every single time, you'll be better than so many players in the world by such a large margin. Right? Mm-hmm. It's super duper important. And we could keep going and then see a few more spots messed up. Lucky. And I think here, after this nair trade, I think what you did is super good. Not the lasers, but dash dancing after the nair is super good. Because this is dash dancing similar to standing still, and it's you dashing here is it lets you do things if Sheik decides to forward tilt or do something to protect herself, So I really
Right.
like the dash tag or dash dance. What? But I don't like the full hop lane in the
I
center stage.
literally could have drilled. Like I could have done any. I guess
Yeah,
in my mind I was like, maybe I should just laser, but then I
yeah,
want to approach also. I'm just like, I chose
yeah,
the worst.
yeah.
I
You
chose the
did something
worst.
in between, and that's one of Melee's super secret rules: is never pick an option that's in between two options because it will
Yeah.
just be the worst of both worlds.
Uh,
It's simply you laser and you're in the lag of the laser and you're moving forward. It's like I put myself next to my opponent and I'm in lag. It's like, oh yeah, now I'm definitely gonna get hit.
like, oh my god, I just see the drill in my head now. I'm like, why?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you totally should have been able to get the grab on that back air.
Yeah. And maybe it just like
You just have to go
pushed
further.
it away. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, just dash like towards Sheik longer, and then you could get it. Yeah, nice. I like that you went to center stage. This is the second time where you've like gone to center stage or something like weird has happened, and I think that's good. Playing out like weird situations that are like scary and don't make sense, I think, is a good way to lose. So taking center stage is super good. Um, let's see here. I don't like this wave dash up tilt though, because I feel like going back to reaction points. If we look at 15 frames from the point that you wave dash, so we look right here. This is right
Michael's about
before
to
you
get
wave dash. We see he's like off stage, right? He's like on platform, off stage doing something. Oh wait, this is like right before. It's right around. We can do the right here. So this is like the first frame. So we see that he's dashing to the left, right? So it's
right.
like if he's dashing left, the only thing that could happen is he goes off stage, right?
Yeah.
And so we go to the end of your wave dash. It's like, okay, well, obviously you can't tell that he's double jumped at this point, but you know that like he's dashing off stage. And so given that, I probably wouldn't want to do the up tilt that you did because it's like he's not even gonna like be able to get there because he was too busy being off stage, right?
Yeah. It's gonna take a while for him to come back.
Yeah, and so if I were to like, change my decision after seeing that like he had run off stage, I would have done something like, dash back, short hop nair, and like maybe read him double jumping, or read him doing like a delayed double jump, or doing like maybe dash back up smash and reading him doing like an instant double jump and just catching him here, right? Or maybe doing
Yeah.
like dash back, wave dash down, and like baiting out the bear that he's gonna end up doing, right? But
Yeah.
all those things are
Running
like a
fair.
lot better than like doing the up tilt because the up tilt doesn't hit anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think the second up tilt was pretty autopilot. I think you could have just like at this point, I think you realized that Sheik was like right here, but
Uh-huh.
you didn't have like the best plan. And I think at this point, you just like could full hop to cover. You either do like full hop to either like dashing forward, and like you could full hop in place or full hop drift right here, or you just like run into the corner and like nair or grab or shine, right? That's like essentially the dichotomy of the mix up. It's either you reader coming forward with some sort of option that either avoids it with dashback or with full hop, or you just try and hit her in the corner. Does that make
Right.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think from Michael's perspective, like, I guess like he just assumes I'm gonna like wall with up tilt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like he sees
Yeah.
all he knows is that you're up tilting right now. That's the only thing he's seen. So he's like, doing this dash tag is good against you doing a second up tilt, right? And so that's what he saw. And so that's also a big thing that you mentioned is like thinking of your opponent's perspective too.
Right. I really want to get into doing that too.
Yeah. And this is I mean, screen
Reaction
looking is a
points
great
is
way.
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reaction points are a great way because like, you have to see your opponent has to see something too, right? You have to see what your opponent does. There's a reason why your opponent's doing something. And this will like give you insight on it and stuff. Um I feel like you had no reason to shield here. Um why do you think I don't like the shield?
Oh,
Watching it back.
I honestly can't say why. Like there's really he could have grabbed me for that for sure.
um so why I don't like the shield is that I feel like if we look at this exact frame, you're dashing and Sheik's still in dash attack lag, right?
Right.
And so, why I think the shield's bad is you generally do the shield. You generally shield when like you think you're going to get hit, right? Because you don't want to get hit. But the thing about this position is that you have something called frame advantage, right? And so it's like you're actionable when the Sheik is in lag. And so, because of that, and we look, Sheik's actionable right now. And it's
Right
like
now, yeah.
you're, right next to her. You could do grab, you could do shine, and it's like it'll be difficult for her to deal with because you have such overwhelming frame advantage, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I feel like because you had such good frame advantage, you could have like tried to do something more aggressive instead of like defensive. Because Sheik isn't gonna try and be aggressive in a spot where like she's, essentially gonna get hit, right? She's gonna try and defend herself. She's not gonna hit you, you know?
Yeah, with Fox right next to her.
Yeah, and so it's like you could use this spot to be more aggressive. Maybe run up grab, maybe, short hop drill, maybe running shine, maybe up smash. But like you get to try and hit her is kind of the point. And like and this idea of frame advantage is like super important in judging because sometimes you have so much advantage that you can hit them just straight up and they can't do anything about it. And sometimes you're at frame disadvantage and you can't do anything without just getting hit, so you have to defend yourself, right? And
Right.
this is like an aspect of the game that we have to like judge and try and understand. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I think that's very important for me to like just keep in mind.
Yeah, I agree. You'll like it's a good way to like judge when things you try and do. It's funny because it actually goes back to literally the first situation that we talked about, which was you running under, trying to run under Sheik in this spot. The reason why you couldn't
Right.
do
Yeah.
this is because you didn't have the frame advantage too, right?
Mhm.
If maybe you were like out of lag, like right now, you could dash right now and you will not get hit by Sheik doing drop through bear, right? But since
Yeah.
you don't actually, the frame advantage is you're actionable now, right?
Yeah, I gotta
And
wait
it's
for the
like,
L cancel.
yeah, it's right. And so it's like you're actionable later, and it's like, okay, well, given when you were actionable, you didn't actually have time to get through, like, to dash past the spare. But you did have the frame advantage to CC, to shield, to up tilt, to go to ledge, right?
Right.
You had the time to do those things, and that's the thing that we want to let that like form, or we want to base our decisions off of that. Because if we have enough
Yeah,
time to
for
do
my
a thing, let's do a thing.
right, for myself and the opponent.
Yeah, yeah. You want to look at both of you. It's because it's relative. Frame advantage is relative between the two characters. So
Uh-huh.
you want to pay attention to both of them. Yeah. Uh, oh. Yeah, I think here too is another spot where I feel like you kind of misunderstood what the threats were, and so I feel like at this point you've like been able to see that Sheik's dashing away, right? And you're shielding, and it's like at this point I'm like Sheik's running. I can't like there's nothing she could do to like come back and hit me, right? She's already running away. She can't dash dance. She's running, right? And so it's like all she can really do is keep running or like jump. And the thing about that we talked about with like threat range, Sheik's threat range from the air is not big enough to hit you here. And so I feel like instead of doing something like a drill, which I feel like you did to like protect yourself in case you like dashed back in, which you couldn't have done, you could have done something like wave dash down or like wave dash back, right? That lets you like be more actionable, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe the drill ended up being a similar frame time to the wave dash, but it's more about like the sentiment of like being when you like see things, judging them correctly and making like the most accurate decision. Because like sure, maybe the drill in terms of like outcome probably ended up being the same as a wave dash back. It's more that like if you were wave dashing back here, understanding that she couldn't like actually hit you, then that means that like, oh, you have a strong enough grasp of every situation that could be remotely similar to this, right? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why this is important. Yeah. Oh, another thing. this is kind of like I think the third time where you've kind of just like nared when Sheik's on the platform, and I think that like it is a thing that you can do sometimes, but like it's really inconsistent because you're just like raw guessing.
Yeah.
You can't tell when she's coming down. You're just kind of like I think she'll come down at this time, and we see that. Another thing with frame advantage, you were disadvantaged enough to where you couldn't have hit her before she hits you, right?
Yeah, my back air was taking a while to get out.
Yep,
And
and
then
her back
bam,
air
I
is
get
already
hit for it.
out. Yeah, and so it's like you have to change the way you play it. So it's like, I see this, and I'm like, I'm at more disadvantage than I was before because Sheik's already shielding, and so it's like, okay, well, now I feel like the only thing I really can do is shield, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to take that and play to the frame advantage. Back air,
The
dead.
bear was a bad choice too.
Yeah, I agree. I think shielding is really the only thing you could do after doing the nair, honestly.
Yeah, at 60%.
We look at this, you doing this kind of bear actually works now. I feel like, okay, so actually I want to talk about something that happened before. I feel like this wave dash up tilt, this is another example of you kind of like missing a reaction point, right?
Yeah, that's an autopilot up tilt.
Yeah, like you wave dash, and it's like, by the time you like decided, you like started doing the up tilt, Sheik was literally over here. Right?
Yeah.
It's like there's no chance of it ever hitting. And you could have told that by, I'll pause when you start the wave dash. From literally here. It's like Sheik's, this is when you would start looking. Sheik's over here, right? It's like she's not gonna get over here by the time you up tilt, right? We also see that she's even wave dashing away.
Wave dashing away, yeah.
Yeah. And then I kind of talk a bit about frame advantage again. Is this nair, okay, you were like super disadvantaged, but one thing that changes it is if you look at the angle that you're at with Sheik, you're directly under her, and Sheik doesn't have good options to stop you from being directly under her, right?
Right.
So it ends up being more reasonable, and then we see that you actually can do like that full hop bear towards center and be safe, right? And so that's good shine. With this edge guard, you could just neutral get up. You just neutral get up shiner.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. This full hop nair is not great. This is a similar thing to what we talked about in the first interaction, where I feel like you did this full hop nair, correct me if I'm wrong, but to read her jumping, right?
Right.
But guess what? She jumped and it did not hit. And so that makes me think that like, well, she dash jumped, I guess to be specific, but she had time to dash jump. And it's like, well, if she has time to just like avoid it, and like, it's not like she did something super complex to avoid it. And it's like, maybe it's like not, the risk reward isn't good in doing it because it's not likely to hit, right?
Right.
And so if we were to change our kind of the way that we approach this situation, I feel like we should look at this position. This is the position that is like actually being played. You're dashing towards Sheik, as she's actionable right now. And looking at this range, what do you think? Like, what do you think are the things that Sheik could do to stop you, and what are the things that like you want to do to Sheik? I guess.
Off the top of my head, like I want to nair her, but I know that she might tilt or forward tilt.
Yeah, you want to narrow.
Or shield.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. She could totally, if you were to try and hit her, she has time to forward tilt, right? Frame advantage. She's actionable right now. So she has time to forward tilt. She has time to shield. I think she also has time to wave dash back. She has time to do a lot of things, right? And so it's like, okay, well, if she has so much time to do things, maybe it's not worth trying to hit her. And so I think doing something like dash forward, wave dash down is really good because you have the threat of dashing forward that they want to deal with because they can see you dash forward, they just can't tell what you're going to do. And so then they see that you dash forward and they're like, okay, well, I want to deal with that. And then you wave dash down here and stop yourself in front of all of her options. And then it's like, okay, if Sheik forward tilts, you get to punish her. If Sheik jumps, you get to like play a mix up that's like she's a mix up where you're advantageous and she's feeling kind of pressured. And if she wave dashes back, guess what? You got stage for free, right?
Right.
And so it's like, okay, we see that when we don't have frame advantage, we could, change the way we play to give us more, opportunities to do things. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, we've done it at least like, we've done it a few times at this point, but like, this is the way that I really want you, when maybe you're working alone or like when we're doing future lessons and stuff, to look at things through this framework. It's like, these are the game, the game only functions one way. Melee is melee, it has a system it functions within, and it'll always be that way. And so if we
Right.
can like observe the system correctly and make, quote unquote claims, this would be making decisions within the game, on the system accurately every time, things will go well because we're functioning within the boundaries of the system, right?
Mhm.
And that's like, this is how, like, you have your top player that feels like they're super hard to hit, or they just keep beating me up. It's like, these are all the things that they're doing like on the fly, right?
Yeah. 24/7,
Yeah.
like every game.
Yep. And we want to get you to that level, or maybe not even that level, just get you better so you can do it more often. You can beat players like Michael and all that stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah. You could watch a few more interactions, and then we could honestly wrap up. I'm not sure how many more, like new things that we'll end up covering, but we'll watch a bit more.
It's all good. I feel like I've already learned, like, the crucial stuff that I need.
Yeah. Okay. This like 10 seconds is really important because you just gave him like 20% for free. You keep like narrowing into the center, and it's like, it just can't hit, right? And so this is kind of the thing where what I talked about with lasers comes in, is it's like, okay, once you get hit by those needles, it's like, you don't have frame advantage. You kind of have to just get out of there. So what I do is I do like dash back and then start playing neutral from back there, right? Which is what you
Right.
do. But then you try and hit Sheik, and it's like, this nair isn't going to actually, the Sheik was right here when you decided to do it, right? It's like, this nair isn't going to hit her here. And
Right.
so I think that nair's pretty bad. And it's like, okay, well then, if I can't hit her, I'm just going to go laser. And so you could just go back here and start lasering on the ground, or doing full hop double laser, the side platform stuff, right? And like,
Okay.
you just get to do lasers while Sheik's like doing her needle stuff. And it's totally fine, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how like you get out, like, this is how you get out of just like the needle cycle. You just have to go back and laser, you know?
Yeah.
And this is really important because she getting this percent on you means that like she gets even closer and closer to getting out of the like your CC threshold.
Yeah. Like she wants me to reach like 40%
Yeah.
as like much as possible.
With forward tilt starts knocking down around I think 24, and so it's
Yeah.
like forward tilt, one of her big moves, knocks, you're 10% away, right?
Right.
And so it's like, that's like, you want to like limit these kind of losses as much as you can because you get a lot of value from being able to CC,
Mhm.
or at least not get knocked down.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tried the up tilt there. It could be good. And even here, it's like you do
Oh,
the same there, where it's like you try and hit her,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Instead of like while she's charging, what benefit do I get if I just like dash under the platform and like ready an up tilt?
I think doing that's actually really good. When you do stuff like that, it's the thing that I talked about earlier, where it's like, when you're directly below Sheik, she doesn't have the best counterplay, right?
Right.
And so putting yourself in that spot, I think, is really good. And if you have time to get there, I totally think that like something like Duck said that I like a lot is when you put yourself, when Sheik's like doing her jump needle stuff and you get under her, you get one opportunity to up tilt, and then you get to just like run back into center stage and be safe. And so it's like you get one scot free. Once you get there, you get one free try to just combo
Right.
her, and then you get to go on
Yeah.
with your day if you don't get it.
Uh-huh.
Right. So yeah, I think
Okay.
that's a really good idea. Yeah.
All right. Now keep that in mind too, instead of just naring for like my life depended on it.
Yeah. Then there's just like, oh my god, I have no idea what happened. You just went so far in the future. And there's just like blew up the spot, and you're getting demolished because of him. Yep. Again, with the ledge, you kind of like miss space. It's like, this isn't the safe range. You see how when I said the safe range is like literally center stage, like Sheik
Right.
forward tilt, right? It's like this is the safe zone, and she could even do let's dash attack and hit that, right? But the
Yeah.
same thing is the same thing we've talked about with moving forward in almost all these scenarios is that when people decide to move forward, that means that if you decide to do an action, you'll generally hit them because they're moving into your threat range, right? That's like
Correct.
that's the big thing. So that's the risk of moving forward. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. Um, the down tilt is a good idea. Back air, it's fine. I remember, yeah, and then I think you die. Oh, Michael. Okay, man.
I'm so surprised that dash attack didn't hit me.
Oh, yep. He just. I feel like you just saw that she was on top platform, but you didn't like actually think about whether you had time to like get under her or not. And it's like it's funny because it's like I've talked about frame advantage, blah blah blah, like threat range stuff a million times. So it's like it's like it is prevalent in every single situation in Melee that happens ever. It's like, oh, you didn't have time to get under. Um, we could just finish off this stock and then we could just do we could start wrapping up now since we've made it pretty deep into the lessons. We've talked about a bunch of things.
Right.
But yeah, we covered the general idea of what's it called, reaction points, right? So
Reaction points. Uh huh.
yep, reaction points.
And then threat ranges.
Yep, threat ranges are super important, and why threat ranges matter and how they matter, right? And how you define them. Generally, I define threat ranges as the unreactable, the point where someone can react, like the edge of where someone can unreactably hit you, right?
Right.
And so, unreactably, we have the baseline of 15 frames, right? That's like after 15 frames, you can react. Um, and I think we covered things with frame advantage, where it's like that's like a big part of the game is when things happen, judging how much time you have to do the thing, and if like the time you have is enough to hit your opponent before they hit you, right? That's a big thing to judge.
Yes.
And then I guess we talked about the small needle position, but it's just like using needle or lasers to coax your opponent in is like one of Fox's strengths. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And obviously these are like super duper duper fundamental concepts, and I don't want you to like be like I got to be the good at all these by the next lesson. It's like no, this is like these are lifelong Melee things that you work on literally forever. And so it's like I wanted to introduce you to these concepts and get you thinking about them and trying like shaping your game around them. And like it's important that you know these things because if you don't know them, how are you gonna like how are you gonna start beating the people that do know it, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. I have like a small thing to say about practicing on this because it's easy to be like I know these things and then not know how to practice it. So with reaction point stuff, a good way to practice it is I like solo practicing it a lot. And so something that you could do is practice doing the things that set up reaction points: wave dashing, short hopping, full hopping, up tilting, rolling, spot dodging, rolling from ledge, double jumping from ledge, whatever. All the things that put you in lag, like for a meaningful amount of time, are good things to practice reaction points with. And when you're in solo practice, you do one of those things and then just move your eyes to the CPU. Put your eyes on the CPU, and that's like a good way to get used to like checking, right?
Yeah.
And obviously in match, you could do the same thing just by whenever you decide to do a thing that could be a reaction point, trying to put your eyes on your opponent and making the best decision you can. It won't always be good. It won't always work, but it's the fact that you saw something and then you try to do something about it. And then when you like do analysis later, you could go through the process that we went through initially and be like, this thing didn't work. Why didn't it work? What can I do better? Right.
Right.
Yeah. And then as for practicing like perceiving frame advantage stuff, the biggest thing is playing a lot and being aware of it. And when you watch matches, be as attentive as you can to like things that happen. It's like when you see someone just get hit, be like, wait, why'd they get hit? What happened? And then you could see the initial frame advantage. Like you can learn trends passively by doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, honestly, just like active watching is the best way for favorite advantage. And then, I mean, threat range stuff is what I did when I was like learning matchups and getting threat range stuff down is I'd pick a character and I'd like go on 20xx and make a recording or whatever and just like do like a forward moving action, do like a thing that hits in front of them, and like go back in frame by frame and see how long it took and see if it was like unreactable. And it's like, a good baseline is for a lot of characters, um it's like them doing like dash forward grab or doing like a dash attack is their like furthest unreactable thing. So it's like for Sheik, her boost grab and her like dash attack are like her furthest grounded like unreactable things. So the edge of those are the edge of your threat range. Or it's like with Falcon, him doing dash forward grab, that furthest that he can do that with it being unreactable is the edge of his threat range. Marth doing dash forward grab or dash attack, or that's the edge of his threat range, right?
Oh, wait, is it for... My bad. Isn't it for Falcons like the furthest is like approaching knee or approaching like Nair?
So with that,
or do you mean in place?
So with those, what makes them not a part of his quote unquote unreactable threat range is that when he jumps, it like both his aerials are slow, but he has to go through jump to like get to you, right? And so one thing with Falcon is that since his arrows are also slow, if you see Falcon jump and you shield, if you're not in range for like either the first hit of Nair or like back air, like Rising Bear, then if you shield on reaction to him jumping, you'll just never get hit. You'll always shield before him doing an aerial like can happen. Does that like make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, because it startup's like reactable.
Yeah, you can see him jump and just shield by seeing him jump, and you will not get hit just because his arrows are not fast enough, right? And so that's why I don't count Falcon doing like run across the or like jump across the stage knee or jump across the stage Nair as his like unreactable threat range, because if you see him jump, you can just shield and you won't get hit by either. You'll just shield it.
Right? Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So that's why I don't count them. Now, they are technically a part of his threat range because he can do those things to those, places on the stage, but it's slightly different because you can react and like make a decision. All the other examples I've given are things that you cannot see, right? It's like by the time that you realize that they've started, you've already gotten hit by them. Is how I define like whether something's reactable or not or unreactable. And with Fox, we talked about running shine. Falco is kind of unique, but his ends up being like just a broaching aerial.
Broaching aerial, yeah.
Falco's unique because he can either do laser or aerial, and you can't really react unless he does like a rising aerial. So it's like kind of a mix up within him jumping that makes his threat range either shorter or really, really, really long because laser goes super far. So that one's kind of unique. And then it's like Puff has like short hop, rising aerial, drift towards you. It's like, and dash attack. And those are like, those are generally all the characters like grounded or like furthest threat ranges. There's other things that go into that, and you'll have to look at that because it all kind of depends. But like that's the baseline that we're kind of working with. And when you like decide that I want to learn this character's threat range, you can kind of look at it through something similar to like that approach, or like whether they're grounded threat range, their aerial threat range, etc. Does that make sense?
Yes, the learning characters threat range.
Yeah. Honestly, that's all I got. Do you have any thoughts?
No, I now have like stuff to work with now. Like I'll definitely like I'll have to ask myself this like throughout like if my own personal like VOD reviews just to get more. I guess because this is something to like help with not only every matchup but with like as you said like melee itself.
Yeah. And I mean, if you ever like feel like you hit a wall, if there's something you don't understand, or even if it's you just want to ask a question, you could always message me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's like you're always free to be like, I need help with this. I don't understand this. What is this? Can you tell me the answer to this? And it's like I can, something that Sammy says that I like is it'll probably be faster for me to tell you something I already know than it will be for you to figure it out yourself. And so it's like and something I like saying a lot is that like the hard part is coming up with the question. If you have the question, just ask. You did the hard part, right? figuring out
Yeah,
the answer is like you're already in the process, you know.
yeah, I do have that problem sometimes with like articulating my thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's like I kind of have this experience because like I'm like Mexican,
Hmm.
but because like I grew up not really speaking Spanish as much, but
Hmm.
I understand like my family's Spanish,
Yeah.
and like so I understand it, but I'm bad at like expressing my words to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's the exact same thing for melee. Like I understand melee's like mechanics. I understand like certain situations, but I don't know how to describe like the things that I'm personally like in trouble with.
Hmm. Hmm. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
I know some other like players are like that. Like Moki, like he said that about himself when he like talks with Cody. Like
Hmm.
he doesn't know how to properly like express his problems with the matchup.
Yeah. And I think, fortunately, with the approach that we have, I think you'll naturally like struggle with that less and less because it's a very like explicit, right? You saw how we went through these situations and everything that could have happened was very clear, and I was very clearly able to state it, right? It's like you could nair, you could up tilt, you could shield, you could CC, right? And it's like since we're being like since we're being holistic in how we approach these situations, I think it'll over time you'll like find more ease and and as you learn more, you'll be able to like express yourself more effectively. But I mean that's that's also a goal that we could work towards with lessons and stuff.
Yeah, like just having the knowledge like dive into my brain like that, like always having more knowledge about the situations like these is like the most important thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
But yeah,
agree.
so much for your time too.
Yeah, and I mean, thanks for signing up. I wanted to like message you before we started doing lessons, like, hey, thanks for signing up, but I like just could not find your Discord, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait until
Sure.
the.
Oh, my
well,
bad. Yeah.
no, no, you're totally good. But yeah, I'm glad you signed up. Thank you. And I'm glad. If you have any questions, of course, you can always message me. I'm always free. I mean, not always free, but I'll get around you. Hopefully within the day. So
Yeah, of course. And then yeah, I'll get to you like there are a few other matchups that I want to like touch upon
mhm,
in the future.
yeah.
Like my main I think I just did like what you call it? The thing with Michael, like this match was like so last minute. It was like
Mhm.
last time, like I don't know what to touch upon. There's like so much I could ask like Billy and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But but I do want to touch like Fox Sheik is like a good simple matchup to like touch upon,
Mhm.
and I'm glad I got like more of the fundamentals
Yeah,
on
that's
like
the thing.
Sunday.
The first lesson,
Yeah,
we never get to like actually get into the matchup because we have to cover like the super fundamental things. But as time goes on, we'll get way more into matchups and we'll get the juicy stuff. Yeah.
no, but like I do think like the fundamentals is the most important part. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And then
Nice.
down the line, I do want to like tackle like Fox Pseudos and stuff because
Mhm.
I'm tired of losing a curve like every tournament. Like I legit got second to him at a local, and I'm like, I hate this.
I want to win. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get all the pieces. We'll get you going. We'll make you the curve destroyer. It'll be great.
All right, thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good rest of your week. I'll talk to you later.
For sure. Take care.
Yeah, you too.